What's up, everybody? Welcome to Show Me the Meaning, Wisecrack's movie podcast. My name is Jared. I am back in the fold, and I'm very excited to be back. And with me, as always, is the Wisecrack crew. We got Michael. Michael, welcome.
Hey, good to be here.
Good to be here. And today, we're talking about the 2020 movie Sonic the Hedgehog, directed by Jeff Fowler, starring James Marsden, Ben Schwartz, and Jim Carrey. And now you might be saying to yourself, how are they going to talk about this movie? Well, God damn it, we are going to do it.
Why would they say that?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. But up top, I want to hear not only what did you think of this movie, but what Sonic games have you played?
Oh, so this is a confession right off the top. I'm not an active gamer. I fell off pretty young. I would say any Sonic game made up until about 99 I've played.
Oh, that's still quite a few.
Yes. Now, if I could remember the names, I would, but that was 21 years ago. So in the time that I have not played Sonic, wait, is that 21 years ago? God, I'm old. A child could have grown up and taken a drink, so I don't really know that one. It's horrible. I know that the last time I played a Sonic game I liked a lot, it was a Sega Genesis one where I put the cartridge on top of the machine. This is embarrassing.
Oh,
stuff.
You're talking about Sonic and Knuckles?
Oh yeah, that one's great. Sonic and Tails, one of the ones I think had both them in it.
Sonic and Knuckles had a weird thing where you had to like put the second cartridge above, or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I just will say this: as much as I'm not an active Sonic head now, as a kid, I was way more Team Sonic than Team Mario. Mm-hmm. Also, I was more of a Pepsi than a Coke person. I don't know what that says about me. Maybe I like off-brand things a little more. So that's what I think about the games. The movie, I'll start with this. The children in the theater with me loved it. And I love nothing more than for the youth of this nation to feel happy. So I'm just going to say that right off the top. I did not enjoy it as much as the children in the room.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's... You're an adult.
Yes, I'm an adult. And this is a movie that I understand that it got made. I don't quite understand why it got made. And
it's doing quite well.
It's doing well, and I would love for us to maybe think a little bit about why it did well. I'll say this. It's hard to talk about it. The first hour of the movie, I was thinking to myself, like, what is happening? Why did this get made? The third act, I enjoyed. I truly found some enjoyment in the end of the film. Once everyone gets to San Francisco, I liked it more. Maybe that means I'm a coastal elite and everything that happened in small town Montana I couldn't relate to. And then once we hit the big city, I liked it more. But there was some moments in the film.
Okay.
Yeah. What did you think?
And
also, no, you have to say this too. Do you have a favorite Sonic game?
I mean, I probably would say Sonic and Knuckles, the same one that you said. I mean, look, I am an active gamer. But if you're an active gamer, I think you would agree that it hasn't been a great last 10 to 15 years to be a Sonic fan.
Oh, has it been that big of a drop-off?
It's been kind of bad. I mean, I played both Sonic Adventures for Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I remember enjoying both of them, although I remember Sonic Adventure 2, this is for the Dreamcast, had some bad technical issues. It seems like there's another Sonic the Hedgehog every once in a while. Of course, I have not played, but I'm very aware of the infamous Sonic 2006, where Sonic falls in love with a human woman, and it's really awkward, and everyone hates it. But no, I have not played a Sonic game in quite some time.
Can I ask you this as well before you tell me about the movie? Did you watch any of the Sonic television shows from the early 90s?
Yeah, matter of fact, I did. And there's a shout out, or I guess an allusion. You know, I'm sure there, by the way, to go back to what Michael said about not being the biggest Sonic fan, like I'm sure there are a ton of references to the games that I did not pick up on because, again, I haven't played since the old school ones. Yeah. I think I might have gotten, there was a Sonic game for the Game Boy Advance that I might have played. There are so many of them. I mean, if there are over 100 Mario games, there's at least 30 to 40, maybe 50 Sonic games.
I quite a bit. I looked it up earlier today, and I was shocked by how deep the Wikipedia page goes for this stuff.
Okay. But, yeah, So I liked the movie more than I thought it would. When the first trailers came out and they had the quote-unquote bad Sonic design, I was like sitting back and thinking to myself, man, I wish they would just keep the bad design because the movie is going to be so bad. I would rather it be tragically bad rather than just bad. But it actually was better than I thought it was going to be. And when you go into a movie with rock-bottom expectations and you end up being, surprisingly stimulated for a solid 90, and that's another thing. Yeah. It's a cool 90 minutes, and that means something in my book after having to watch The Irishman for 3.5 hours. But I liked it more than I thought I would. The scenes with Robotnik dancing, or that scene with Robotnik dancing was awesome. Jim Carrey, it was so nice to see him doing like Dumb and Dumber facial impressions and seeing that kind of return to comedic form. And then the movie itself is like some bizarre mix of Superman, Frankenstein, E.T., and road trip movies like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And I kind of got a kick out of it.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the Carrie stuff, and that's something I think I was saving because that's maybe the one big talking point I have for later. But I found myself going on a journey with Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik because at first I was pretty not put off, but it was a lot. And it was a sort of tonal shift for the film because up until that point, everything kind of has this sweet tone except for Sonic, but we're fine to have our one fish out of water character. When we meet Dr. Robotnik, just really full on. It was like Ace Ventura times 11 with like some weird tech fascist tendencies mixed in. But throughout the film, I found that character and that performance very interesting. And I think, and I'm going to save this till later in the show, I think that the core of what could have made the film a lot better was contained in the kind of aesthetics around that character. And I think for me personally, the dance sequence gets at another direction I think the film could have gone and maybe will go because it looks like, and we'll get to this, that this will not be the last Sonic movie we'll see.
I imagine
based
there will be
on
a sequel.
Some hints and the fact that it's making money.
Well, that's the real hint.
Yeah, I know. all the artistic stuff is out the window because I think it made like 70 million its first weekend.
I think, that must be the highest grossing video game movie weekend.
It is.
Okay,
and then too, we are in the month that the film industry calls Dumptuary, where all the shitty films are dumped in February. Award season's over. No one really cares right now. So to do that well in February, a time where a lot of crap movies are being shoved down our throat or attempted to be shoved down our throat is a good sign.
I'll go one step farther and I'll say, even though you and I are probably not ecstatic about this movie, I hope it does really, really well because I want this to be the game movie that makes it so that everyone starts making video game movies.
Yeah.
Like the Uncharted movie has been in development hell for so long. There's been talks of a Mass Effect movie. They've been talking about making a Metal Gear movie for I don't know how long. If someone is willing to do it right, like people have been doing comic book movies right for so long, then I think maybe cinema is in for another kind of renaissance, a commercial renaissance at least.
Well, and I'll even say as someone that didn't love this movie, I think they can do something. I think all hope is not lost.
Yeah.
I think there was enough good, and once again, we talk about this a little bit more later, where I could see a sequel that was fun. And took some of the best parts of this and maybe worked around what the audience responded to. And we know this is a film that responds to audience reactions because it got delayed and remade because of those reactions.
Yeah.
But I think there could be something there. See, I hate this. You're already talking to me into liking it more than I thought I did. And we just got started.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's dive into a recap. So after a tragic separation from his winged mother figure, a young Sonic the Hedgehog is transported to Earth with special rings that enable him to escape Earth should anyone try to take his powers. In his new community of Green Hills, Sonic lives vicariously through Officer Tom Wachowski and his wife Maddie. When Sonic's loneliness drives him to reach a speed that kills the whole town's power, the military sends in the eccentric Dr. Robotnik to investigate. In a failed effort to escape Earth, Sonic loses his rings through a portal to San Francisco and teams up with Tom to evade Dr. Robotnik and get the rings back. After some unpleasant run-ins with Robotnik, Tom and Sonic join up with Maddie, while Robotnik uses a strand of Sonic's hair to fuel his most powerful machine yet. Sonic retrieves the rings. Right before he's about to leave Earth, Robotnik attacks and chases Sonic through San Francisco, Paris, the Great Wall, etc., until the final showdown in Green Hills, where, inspired to protect his friends, Sonic turns into Supersonic, I think, although I've always known as Supersonic to be yellow, and banishes Robotnik from Earth. Tom decides to stay in Green Hills and creates a home for Sonic in the attic, while Robotnik plans his escape from Mushroom Land. End of movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will say as well, before we keep going, I checked the chat a little bit. A lot of people are very excited that you're here. You should just know that.
Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and there's one person that said something about male pattern baldness that I don't know if it was aimed at me or not, but if so,
it might be aimed at me. I mean, shit, look at that right there.
I would kill for that. I would take I would take one lock of that hair. I would do a dance in my mobile laboratory, and I would use that gorgeous ginger lock to change my life.
Oh, well.
You are my Sonic.
Okay, well, next time I get a haircut, I'll let you know.
And I'll be a less fascist Robotnik. Oh, great. That was such a good summary. I'm very excited to get into this because I think you're going to convince me to like it more than I did. Before, I wanted to give a shout out to the sponsor that's helping make this all possible, which is Skillshare. Now, I don't know how you're feeling thus far in your 2020, Jared, but something I'm trying to do more is work on developing good habits, get in better routines. I kind of am someone that works in really crazy and inconsistent ways. So Skillshare is great because it gives you a lot of options to learn new stuff, get your life together, especially if you're a creative person or someone that sort of interested in graphic design or photography. Skillshare has tons of courses for you, so you can learn things from graphic design, photography, web development, even crafts if you're into the crafting scene. Now, a course that I checked out that I think is really cool is called Real Productivity: How to Build Habits That Last with Thomas Frank. Now,
I like that guy.
Yeah, he's a YouTube guy.
Yeah.
Now, if you've read any Aristotle or David Hume in your life, you know that habit is really important. Habit shapes who we are in our sort of like moral and ethical fabric. So the idea of a course that teaches you how to build the sort of habits that will make you work more efficiently and productively is awesome. And I think something about learning good habits rather than just beating yourself up for not working right, which is what I do all the time, sounds great. So that's a course that I'm checking out. It might work for some of you, but if not, there's definitely other stuff on Skillshare that you might love. Now, one of the best parts about this is that it's really affordable, especially compared to taking a class at a college or community center or something. An annual subscription will take you back less than $10 a month. And depending on what town you live in, you can get a coffee for $10. So
certainly
that's one fancy coffee for a lot of learning. Yeah. Now you can get 2 months free of premium membership right now by going to Skillshare.com/Wisecrack. That's Skillshare.com/Wisecrack. So why not learn something new?
Yeah.
Whether it's making your work life better, teaching a new creative skill, whatever it might be, it makes way more sense than, I don't know, like taking a vacation or going to the gym.
Yeah.
These things are fleeting.
One of the things I like about Skillshare is not only do they have classes taught by real, legit professionals. Like I've plugged a class before by the woman who wrote The Orchid Thief. I can't remember her name.
Oh yeah. The creative nonfiction.
Yeah,
class.
the creative nonfiction class, but also people on YouTube. I know that Thomas Frank, who I can vouch for, is a great guy and a really smart guy, has a great class on there, and I'm pretty sure that Philip from In a Nutshell also has one on animation. So I mean, Skillshare's got the goods from people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah. And once again, 2 months free membership right now if you use our link. So once again, go to Skillshare.com/Wisecrack today. Start your free 2-month premium membership.
Okay.
Now that that's said,
now I get to try to.
I guess we have to get into
that.
I guess
the movie's pretty good. All right. The first thing I want to talk about, and I think this is probably the cleverest thing about the movie, is the character foils. So we have 3 main characters that all their emotional arcs always kind of work in puzzle pieces together, and I think this is actually quite clever screenwriting, especially for, and we'll talk about this later as well, when you're adapting something that doesn't really have a plot, or at least much of a plot.
Yeah.
So we have Sonic. Sonic yearns for connection, specifically human connection. And it's clever. I really like how they tie his emotional arc to his penchant for speed, because everybody knows that Sonic is fast. So at the very beginning of the movie, he says, to be honest, it feels like I've been running my whole life. He's never been able to slow down and establish intimacy with anyone. I really like the scene where Sonic is playing baseball with himself, because it's both a joke on speed, which is an obvious motif through the film, but also further establishing his loneliness, and that's kind of what he struggles with throughout the film.
Yeah.
And then his foil is Robotnik, whereas Robotnik thinks of humanity as an inadequate, inefficient blip in the evolutionary progress. And he's got so many great lines that are so well delivered throughout the movie. So Jim Carrey says, you know what I love about machines? They do what they're told. They follow their programming. They don't need time off to get drunk and put the boat in the water. And later he says, yeah, human beings are stupid and unreliable, and I care little about them, but my machines are diligent, relentless. They're everything to me. And then later he's referencing Sonic when he says, why would you sacrifice your life for this thing? That's why I don't have friends. Next thing you know, you're somebody's best man. They want you to have the wedding out of town like nobody has anything better to do. And then
that one hit me really hard because I had to see this movie after coming back from an out-of-town wedding.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you were about to tell me that your wedding is in fucking Honolulu or something.
No. I was coming back from a desert wedding. I was like, this movie gets me.
Yeah. And so I think this is really interesting contrast as like Robotnik being the smartest man alive, sees other humans as annoying inferiors, whereas Sonic, the fastest thing alive, doesn't really claim superiority and appreciates humans for their good qualities. And then there's one other quality about Robotnik that makes him a great foil for Tom, and that's Robotnik's obsession with achievement. So he's always talking about how superior he is, whether he's superior to the military commandos, or he says things like, I was spitting out formulas while you were sipping up formula, or something he says to the cop. That this idea that achievement usurps connection.
Yeah.
And we have the Tom character, Tom Wachowski, played by, what's his name again?
James Marsden.
James Marsden.
His eyes were just haunting me for days.
And he is stuck somewhere in the middle of the two of them because he wants to leave his small town behind to deal with, quote, real city problems. He says he's always felt more like a babysitter than a real cop because in Green Hills, I suppose the most he ever does is give out speeding tickets. Again, the speed motif I think is pretty clever. Sonic tells him nothing is more important than protecting the ones you care about, and at the end, he decides to affirm human value over achievement, being a hotshot big city cop, thereby rejecting Robotnik's philosophy. So they have this interesting triangle of main characters that all kind of feed into each other's emotional arcs. Not that Robotnik really has an arc necessarily, but at least what he represents runs counter to our two protagonists in a pretty, what I would say, pretty clever way.
Yeah, and I think to get back to the fact that I don't like going out of town for weddings, I was having a conversation with a guy that worked in technology in Silicon Valley at this wedding over a couple of overpriced Bud Lights. And we were talking about the relationship between technology and the humanities, and this idea that what he sees in the tech industry is people that are so obsessed with efficiency and automation and technology that there's a lack of appreciation for the humanities broadly construed. And this world in which, okay, we can get algorithms or robots to do all of these things, but like, can they write a poem or come up with a song or make a painting? All these sort of things that make our core human. And hearing you say that,
God, you're making me wish that Robotnik was a Silicon Valley dude rather than a government dude.
I know. Well, there's some overlap there because he seemed kind of like a rogue contractor or something like that, like a black ops type person that they like fly in after the war's over, like one of those. I forget the name.
Blackwater.
Like, yeah, Blackwater. The companies they came to Iraq and stuff afterwards and made some money and did a great job. But
I used to roommate with a Blackwater dude.
Really?
He was hardcore.
Wow. Once we're off air, we should talk about this because I think there's probably some system that could get us in jail. But no, hearing you say that, I think it gets at something interesting because, like, what does, and just to reiterate what you said, what does Robotnik really want at the end? The power of the quill from Sonic. What does Sonic want? And not to spoil the film for anyone, but he wants a high five.
Yeah.
The pivotal moment and of the film is him getting a high five from his buddy. He wants a moment of human connection. He wants a night on the town. He wants a goofy road trip. He wants these things that are fundamentally human.
Yeah.
And I do think the contrast you set up is good. And I'm getting mad because right now I'm talking myself into liking this film even more. And then I think the triad you set up with Tom, right, is the name of the... Yeah. The Tom character who thinks he wants to go live in the sort of technological utopia of San Francisco.
Oh, there we go. They did bring it in.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So he wants to run to Silicon Valley, but knows that he's more of a... was it called Green Valley?
Green Hills.
Green Hills. Dang it. If it was Green Valley, that would work much better with the Silicon Valley
I think
thing.
Green Hills is, I believe.
It is.
God, someone don't kill me if I get this wrong, but I think it's the name of the first level in one of the first Sonic games.
It is.
Okay.
I really think this is true.
Okay.
So don't be mad at Jared. Be mad at me if this is wrong.
Okay.
I'm not going to say who. Someone else in this room is nodding their head, and it's one of the smartest people I know.
Okay.
So we should be good. But yeah, so I think there was some good emotional stakes there in terms of those ideas. I did think, though, that the emotional journey at times felt a little bit shallow or underdeveloped. Now, I say this against the backdrop of the fact that I think the small children in the theater who were loving it are probably the primary audience for the film and not us. But I don't know, in so much as a high five at the end of the film is kind of cute and simply symbolic, it's also like friendship saves the day.
Yeah. I agree with that, but I would also say that I don't think that this movie needs to be 90 minutes long and not a minute longer. And maybe there could have been some scenes added to that emotional weight. But I guess kind of going back to my initial cynical view of the movie, I never really thought it was going to be great. And so I think the fact that they got something that was entertaining for all 90 minutes and was able to emotionally connect on somewhat of an intellectual level as well as with kids, I think that's kind of the best case scenario.
It is, and I'm going to make an unfair comparison here, but I think one of the great things about like a Pixar movie is often they subtly sneak in emotional depth that on the surface level will speak to a curious 11-year-old, but then will tug at the heartstrings of the 39-year-old parent who is in the audience as well. And I think there was something, I just think there was a little more meat on the bone of this theme of kind of the alienation of the Sonic character, the desire for friendship and community. I saw one review, and I forget who it was, whatever, I'm not stealing your idea, I'm just saying what it is, but who talked about like, you could read this as a critique of what technology is doing to all of us. Are we all just in our own little holes with all of our stuff on our own all day and not really connecting with humans anymore? But I think there's potentially more meat on the bone there.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
But maybe I'm asking too much.
I don't know. I didn't see Detective Pikachu, but I remember Alex saw it, and he was telling me the same thing about it. He was like almost so smart. Did you see it?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he said it was like almost so smart. And I mean, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really get into the specifics. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that the way that the Robotnik character interface with technology really could have given us a little bit more to work with, especially considering we have such a great contrast between Robotnik's orientation towards other human beings versus Tom, who believes that there's nothing, or who eventually gets convinced by Sonic that there's nothing more important in life than protecting the ones you love. And yeah, no, but I agree with you. I agree with you there.
Do you think there was enough done in terms of origin? Because I'm a sucker for a good origin story.
Okay.
And I did feel with both Sonic and Robotnik, Sonic especially. So
Sonic,
like
that was like, I was like, whoa.
It was a lot.
Where's the bird person?
So as far as I know, this Longclaw character is not a part of the video game.
Not that I know of.
Okay, so we start and Sonic's running fast. There's a magical owl that he calls his Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
So when they say that, we're like, oh, this person's going to die soon. And then is chased by a bunch of like ninja squirrels. And then they kill Longclaw. We don't know what Longclaw is, what she does, what the purpose is. We don't know what Sonic's training is. And we don't know why Speed would leave this group to get him. And then the way the rings came in were interesting as well. I just feel like that all didn't do enough. And I think if anything, the deeper the origin story sometimes, the more we can show the fruit of that. And I think the same thing with Robotnik. He mentioned, that he was an orphan and he got punched by a bully once.
Yeah, I'm of a split mind about this origin thing. On the one hand, it really just seemed like a shoe-in. Actually, you know what? Can I use this question to transition into our next segment?
I guess you can, yes.
Unless you had more to talk about.
I mean, just in general about the movie?
Well, because this is, I want to do a little segment about adaptation, and I think that what you're speaking to kind of overlaps with one of the things I was going to say.
Let's get into it.
Okay. So, guys, I'm introducing a new segment about adaptations. Clever or not so clever. So I'm going to be interviewing Michael here, and I'm going to give him what I think is likely perhaps a thought process that goes into making some of the decisions that they make, especially since, Michael mentioned earlier that it's an unfair comparison to compare it to Pixar. And it's not only because Pixar are some of the greatest storytellers of our time, but also because Pixar functions on a level where they're not really beholden to IP that is in a completely different medium.
Yeah.
So
before we get into it, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I guess I made everyone mad because I called the thing squirreled, but they're in, I'm not going to say this right, they're echidnas? Echidnas. So it's an echidna tribe.
Oh, yeah, because they look like Knuckles, who's an echidna.
Okay. So once again, Genuine apologies, but I did say at the top, I don't know if anyone tuned in late, I don't have a big background here, so apologies. They're an echidna tribe.
God, you don't know what an echidna is?
I know.
There's only one echidna I've ever seen in my life, and it's Knuckles. I don't know what one really
Okay,
looks like in real
but genuine
life.
apologies. Thank you for the correction, but I'm excited to get into this new segment.
Okay, all right. So, adapting Sonic the Hedgehog, you're a screenwriter. You get hired to adapt something that doesn't really have a story. It's more of an iconic piece of culture that has images that resonate among people for generations. So, first challenge, you've got a non-human character that has to dialogue with celebrities. Yeah. So, they go the Superman route. A space creature with special powers sent to Earth by his dying parental figure. Clever or not so clever? Oh. See, because I thought, like, that whole first minute and a half origin was just an excuse to contextualize some of the visuals you see in the original video games of like, yeah, that's what that means. It's not Earth. It's a different planet.
But I visually loved the opening so much that I would have rather stayed in that world or stayed in that world for the first third of the film and then cut away. But I think that would have been interesting, and I would have loved to see Sonic interact more with characters in his own world.
I agree. I actually am really curious about the echidnas.
Yes,
If
I too.
one of them was Knuckles.
Yes, I as a I don't want to say expert, but as an expert on echidnas. I'm kidding. I'm making fun of myself, to be clear. I'm not making fun of anyone else. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would have rather seen. I mean, part of me would rather see just a fully animated film that takes place in that world.
You know, you might have sold me on that.
Yeah.
I think.
And then maybe then you end the first film with what happens at the beginning where Sonic gets dropped off on Earth. You end with an interaction. Then the sequel, we get to see that
like
take
Sonic
place.
goes to Earth.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then
you might have
we-
sold me on
then
that.
we'd
It
have
certainly
a
would have been
robust
like a
enough story.
trippier film. That would have been cool.
Well, and we can get into this maybe, but I think the elements that work the best were the trippier elements. And I know we're in the middle of the game right now. But,
Okay.
But some of the, you know what? Get to the game. I'm
right.
sorry for speaking.
No, it's okay. Second thing. Said character that you have to adapt is a talking hedgehog. How does one incorporate said hedgehog onto Earth? They make his arc about how his uniqueness alienates him from having friends and making him lonely. Clever or not so clever?
This is hard.
Not so clever. Okay.
I don't know, like what he's unique because he runs fast. I mean, he's unique because he's an alien creature. That's always going to be an awkward hang at first.
But the thing about Sonic is the character of Sonic is always really snide and always really confident.
Yeah.
So how do you not betray that but still give him an inner conflict? And I think that loneliness, especially once again, since it's not a fully animated film with Sonic talking to Tails and Knuckles and all the other weird characters that they've added since then. There's one with a fishing pole, big one. Someone in the comments probably remembers. But because it's him talking with real humans, I think it actually is pretty clever to make it about loneliness because the movie demands that we have one hedgehog and a bunch of humans. And so it would only make sense that he's lonely. Now, I am going to make a huge stretch here, and I highly doubt that this was intentional, but I got some Frankenstein vibes from the way that Sonic at the beginning wants to be part of the Wachowski family and kind of live vicariously through their relationship. So at the beginning, he watches their relationship through a window and watches the movies that they watch. He even gives a shout out to Keanu Reeves, which I appreciated very much. In Frankenstein, the extremely lonely monster finds a hovel next to a cottage and looks in at the family's going-ons through a crack in the wall, and he eventually pleads to the family to be his friends, but they shoo him out. I was kind of thinking that there would be like a scene where Sonic looks into the water to see his reflection and like it's like feels like an abomination, but that never happened. But yeah, I don't know. I love that book.
Yeah.
So
after hearing your explanation there, I'm going to revisionist history.
Okay. All right.
That was better than I give it credit for. Sure.
Okay. All right. These next two are a little bit more. They're mini adaptation choices. All right. So you got Jim Carrey to be in your movie to play Eggman, who's called Eggman because he's rotund. Jim Carrey is not rotund. So instead of being round, he has drones that are shaped like eggs, making him an egg man. Clever or not so clever? I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Why not? It was fun. You needed him to be that character. They drew the aesthetics out pretty well, but by being more Robotnik than Eggman in that sense, his flying eggs were perfect. It was a fun nod.
I think that the fact that he physically looks nothing like Robotnik, I mean, even though Robotnik is a cartoon character with basically legs that are stick thin and a body that is gigantic.
Yeah.
You would still expect him to be a fatter actor, but the fact that they went with Jim Carrey, it just, I don't know, it works.
It was great.
All right. Here's one. You can even call bullshit on this one. All right. Visual motif to draw Sonic to Tom. Sonic is associated with rings. Tom is associated with ring-shaped donuts. Clever or not so clever? Or you could say bullshit or deliberate. What do you think?
I'm going to say bullshit.
Bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if the Donut Lord thing was meant to be that much. I thought it was just a funny riff on cops.
I mean, it's a visual motif. I don't think it has any meaning, but I think you don't think that, like, I mean, it could have been, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's a cop thing probably more than it is a circular object motif.
Yeah, I mean, I found it like funny that right off the bat, and in a well-natured way, that James Marsden, and I think it's easy because he's not schlubby, he's extremely handsome. So to have this like handsome small town cop who also loved donuts was kind of fun.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I feel like I think there are some things that this screenplay does that are not the most trite, common things, choices to make. And I feel like cops who love donuts are a little bit too trite. So I want to believe that there was that extra Sonic element that made them choose donuts rather than some other fixation like on coffee or something.
No, I think you're probably right. Probably right. And also, too, I just want to say shout outs to Adam Pally for playing the other cop. It was pretty funny.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. The Deus Ex Machina cop, right? Because he comes in at that last minute and saves the day.
No. He's at the beginning. He's on the walkie-talkie with him.
Yeah, but at the end, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, because he shoots one bullet.
He shoots one bullet. And that stops something somehow. And yeah. All right, last one. This is also one you can call bullshit on. Sonic uses his speed to run away from connection in life. Tom is stuck in a dead-end job as a speed trap cop. Clever or not so clever? Oh, okay.
Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
All right.
It's fun enough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was made for those kids screaming in your theater, man. I'm telling you.
They were so happy. There was things. One of the biggest laughs in the room I was in was the scene where Tom won't give him a ride to San Francisco, and he says, run that way and you'll hit it. And then he immediately comes back with kelp and a fish on his hair because he's ran into the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
And then he dries himself off with his speed shake, and his hair goes puffy. These children were laughing so hard. They were laughing the way I laughed when I was like 16 and saw my first episode of Jackass and couldn't believe that existed.
Yeah.
And it made it enjoyable. I mean, they threw in some fun jokes for mom and dad as well. I thought the Natasha Rothwell character who played Mrs. Wachowski's sister, Tom's sister-in-law, very funny. I mean, just a wonderful comedic actor in general.
Yeah.
It felt tonally a little bit weird, but she was funny. She acknowledged at one point after she was tied up and mocked by her own child that she needed to go to the bathroom in her pants.
Oh, yeah. I also like the Fitbit joke. Just like, if you're going to run around, might as well put on my Fitbit so I can get my steps. Yeah. Which, more about your technology thing.
Yeah, there we go. But that was fun. I think that's also why I enjoy the San Francisco part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what did you think about are there more questions in this game?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, then just here's how I feel about the game in general.
Oh, okay, great.
It was fun. That was fun. I enjoyed it. What did you think about the Roadhouse fight scene?
I was actually going to ask you if you think it was actually a direct, deliberate allusion to Pee-wee's Big Adventure, because it's a road movie. This is a road movie, and instead of Sonic the Outsider partying it up with some roadsters who then kick him out, it's Pee-wee Herman who parties up with some bikers who then kick him out.
There might have been, although I think that's
because well, there's another. I mean, do you think that sorry to interrupt, but like, so when Sonic hides among the balls in the attic to not be seen, that's definitely an allusion to E.T. hiding amongst the stuffed animals. So I do think that there are some deliberate nods to these allusions.
Oh,
here.
for sure. I think the E.T. thing was very clear, like the alien hiding amongst the stuffed animals and needing to wanting to leave and go home and struggling to find out where his home really was, for sure.
Yeah. And the government being after them for testing.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I kept thinking about during the, I guess, like fight scene in the Roadhouse was the difference between, and I'm going to sound like I'm stoned here, but I'm not, although I did see a lot of people in the comments were talking about 420, so shouts to y'all. Maybe this will make sense to you. Is this line between incredible speed and slowing time down and the question of temporality? I actually saw this movie with a friend who was a physics major. And who I wasn't, but he was a physics major who had taken an edible before he saw Sonic, and what he wanted to talk about afterwards.
He must have loved it.
He enjoyed parts of it and was very concerned about others. But it was interesting because earlier in the film, when Sonic first runs by Tom's cop car, doesn't he go like 297 at first?
Yeah, I remember the number.
Yeah.
I don't.
It was something on the lower end, but then the speed at which he would have to travel to do everything he did would, I think, be like the speed of light.
Well, especially the time where he's like, go west. And he's like, and then a second later, he has all this kelp all over him because he went to the ocean.
He instantly went from Montana to the ocean. But if one, and someone who knows science better will correct me on this, but if you're going at the speed of light, you're moving concurrently with light. So you're almost like moving at such a rate where you're parallel with time as we experience it. So he was able to basically freeze things like Zach Morris and Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. So there is this interesting question of like the limits of this power, how it works, and then what is the difference between going fast and going so fast that you literally are slowing time down.
I hope that your friend, after all those after all those kids had a great time at the movie, I hope he just said, "All right, nobody move, and I want to explain why this isn't funny, guys."
It was. The person at the ArcLight was very upset when they're like, "Not today. I need to give a lecture." He pulled out his pen thing. But I think that was...
No, that's interesting. I will say one thing about those. So you're talking about Sonic, he speeds through the bar fight and everything is in slow-mo around him, and then he does the same thing when Dr. Robotnik is shooting those missiles and bullets at him, right?
Yeah. It's not even that he's moving so fast that to him the experience of time is that much slower.
Yeah.
So his experience of temporality differs from ours. I'll stop at this. I know this sounds like it's too much, but because of this speed, it means he's able to exist in the same type of linear temporality that you and I are able to experience, where, seconds by seconds, minutes by minutes. But he could also, in 1 second of our time, completely reorganize our studio, put us in dumb outfits, put some peanut butter on our fingers or whatever. And to him, that single second for us would be minutes to do things.
Have you seen X-Men Days of Future Past or X-Men Apocalypse?
I didn't see Apocalypse.
Okay, well, both of them have a scene with Quicksilver that's essentially the same thing. And I remember that was the best scene in Days of Future Past. Yeah. And then I felt like it was a little bit too much fan service when they did it again in Apocalypse, which is just not a good movie.
That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah, so I kind of felt like, man, not only was this already done, but it was already done, and it was the most memorable part of that movie. And so that part kind of bummed me out a little bit.
But I don't know. I thought
it's so appropriate for Sonic. So
once again, it's Sonic, and I do think, and this is my fault, what I'm about to say is, whenever I want to understand the powers. Any character, a superhero, an alien, a video game character turned into a film character, I just want to have some understanding of how it works. And this sometimes makes me a bad person to see a movie with. I definitely think one of my biggest problems with the recent Star Wars trilogy is there's so much stuff that it's just like not explained how it works.
Yeah.
And it really bothers me. I just wanted to know a little bit more about that. And then were we meant to believe in the final chase scene that the power from the single quill then allowed Robotnik that same speed and power? Because when they're doing the ring chase on like the Great Wall of China and the pyramids, at one point I did think they were going to blow up the 7 wonders of the world, and I started to get very upset.
Yeah, it's hard to say because like at what point, I guess the real question is what speed is the camera going?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm bringing up dumb stoner stuff from someone
okay.
that like,
all right.
it's like Neil deGrasse Tyson over here. Like, actually.
All right. I have one last question. I think maybe then we should go into the mailbag.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sure I'm not the first person to bring this up, but so he'll use the rings to escape to a gross, smelly world filled with mushrooms. Like, how could you not? At least I thought, like, oh, is this like a Mario thing? Like, are they jabbing at Mario? But it's not the Mushroom Kingdom, because at the end, Robotnik is there, and it doesn't look anything like Mario related. But when I first heard that, I was like, oh, haha. They're kind of, I know that Sonic has appeared in a lot of Nintendo games, so I thought there might have been something copacetic working relationship between the two of them, and that we might actually see Sonic or some sort of like Mario Sonic extended universe or something like that. But
God, I didn't
think
even think about
you think
that.
it's a coincidence, or do you think that that's a thing?
Now that you've said it, it's hard to believe that would be a coincidence.
Yeah. Because why mushrooms?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you why I hope mushrooms, because I want a sequel in which we start with Robotnik on the mushroom planet discovering the hallucinogenic effects of those mushrooms, and we have like a half-hour trip sequence where he figures out a bunch of science stuff while having a hallucinatory experience with a crazy psychedelic background.
Yeah, I'm sure the 7-year-olds would love that.
No, they would, and I'll give you a quick anecdote to prove this. I went to the theater when the SpongeBob movie first came out. It's like early 2000s, and I think it was in my late teens at that point, and there was two older gentlemen in front of me who were laughing and crying throughout the film, and I didn't understand it, and someone later told me those guys took acid and went to see the SpongeBob movie. The kids loved it. The adult men on hallucinogenics loved it. The teen that was me on no substances but popcorn loved it.
Okay.
It's kind of a win-win-win.
That sounds like a win all around.
But if I can say, just before we get to the mailbag, I do want to say that I think the Carrie performance is Dr. Robotnik, to me at least, kind of undermined the tone of the film, because the tonal choices of his scenes I thought were so good that it seemed like there's another film that's more of like an absurdist masterpiece that really leans into that character. And I kind of wanted to see that a little bit more. A movie that's more oriented around that, and maybe a world that reflected him rather than Robotnik being a character who was so singular.
Yeah, I think you can see Robotnik existing in the first world. The trippy looking world. And if we had stayed there, it might be the Robotnik tone throughout.
And I think so, if anyone's listening who's making the second film, I mean, pay us money for all this, but maybe start there.
Or go back at least.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on your end on this one?
No. I mean, we've talked for like 40-something minutes about Sonic the Hedgehog.
7
I feel
hours.
really proud of ourselves.
Yeah, everyone should be impressed with us, I think, because we really pulled all the meat off the bone. It's like taking one chicken wing and having a full dinner out of it.
Yeah, but it was a fun 90-minute chicken wing.
And also, I think some people are helping us figure some things out in the comments, and I can't wait to look at them later. Thank you so much. So let's start. Do you want to start with a email?
Yeah, we got an email. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind on all these emails, getting back into the swing of things, but we did get one from Pavlon about Parasite. So if you haven't seen Parasite, spoilers ahead. Pavlon says, "Hey, Wisecrack, I know this is about 2 months after your Parasite podcast, but I just have to give my input on the whole rock thing. I'm not saying your take is wrong per se, but as someone from Asian descent, I personally think that the rock is supposed to represent hope and is a wealth good luck charm. Excuse me. The stone is supposed to be compared to the planned speech that the dad gives. The rock works by giving the family hope, especially Kevin, that money or better days will come to them eventually. In a sense, they're hoping for unearned wealth. The rock keeps clinging to Kevin because it gives him the false hope that he will get all that he deserves after he marries the wealthy man's daughter, which is why at the party he asks if he fits in at that setting. He has no earned justification that he belongs in that society. Everything to Kevin is just one day I will, just like with the diploma. So in the end of the movie, when he discards the rock, it's supposed to symbolize him throwing away the dream to get unearned wealth to begin to actually plan for your future where he will become wealthy. So yeah, that's just my read on what the rock was supposed to represent. Love the podcast from Pavlon. So I had not gotten anyone to really explain to me what it means when he puts it away, but I like the idea of it just being luck that he's clinging onto, that things will come to me. And then when he puts the rock away, he realizes that I will have to pursue it being wealth. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think there's something there. And I think that rock kind of symbolized a type of hope that I think sadly Parasite tells us might not exist.
Yeah.
that life is and life under capitalism is a nitty gritty series of machinations that we have to participate in, following the rules of the system and hoping for the best. And there's not like a magical way out. Whereas the logic of movies is often that there is always the magic, the hope, the friendship, the high five at the end of the chase.
I like that.
Yeah. And I think that's what happens. He puts the rock away and he puts the fantasy away.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so if you guys want to send us an email, talking about whether Sonic's arms are in fact blue or tan, talking about other Sonic's things, the illusions, the references that we missed, hit us up at movies@wisecrack.co. Otherwise, we've also got some voicemails. You can hit us up at 213-534-8807. That's 21-ELF-HUT-07. I believe both of them are about Jojo Rabbit, which I haven't seen. Is that correct?
Yes, but it just right now in your head, imagine exactly what you think it's about and confidently respond to anything with that. So, so we have one. This is from Hannah on Jojo Rabbit.
Hi, this is Hannah. Just finished listening to the Jojo Rabbit podcast of Show Me the Meaning. And I was really interested in what you were saying about the Freudian and Lacanian concepts of the cultural superego. And just was thinking that the father or masculine figure who's absent, Jojo's father being absent, is filled in by potentially three other masculine figures. We've got the Hitler imaginary friend who fully embodies that obsessive imagination filling in the gaps in his life. But then potentially Sam Rockwell's character as another father figure who I think there might be an argument to be made that he is coded as queer with Alfie Allen's character. So I wondered what you made of that. And also I think the third potentially sort of masculine character that comes into it is the moment when Scarlett Johansson's character smears her face with the soot and takes on the role of both father and mother.
That's a really good question. Thank you so much for that, Hannah. That's a good observation. So we kind of...
If I may just interject, I just want to say that she used two buzzwords, Lacan and obsessive, and I know that she's reacting to something Austin said.
I'm not going to say who said what. We're not here to snitch. We're here to... Yeah, but I think... A really good point. We talked a bit in this movie about how there's a young boy searching for father figures, and you've coded with all these father illusions in a movie about World War II in Germany, the fatherland, of course. And Hannah, I have nothing else to say other than I think you are right. I agree with that reading of the film, and I think in a lot of ways the film gets at this idea of if there isn't a father figure here meant in that Freudian Lacanian sense, so not always the literal father, but some point of cultural orientation or logical orientation. That's where bad stuff can slip in. I think one thing the Jojo Rabbit gets at is this young kid that isn't sure what his father figure is. His actual father is gone. How that kind of leads into this temptation of Nazism. So that was good. Also,
that makes me want to see the movie.
Yeah, or you could earmuff it if you don't want to have anything spoiled.
No, it's fine.
Okay. It's definitely worth seeing. And also, I'll say that since we talked about it in the last episode, it won Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars for Taika Waititi. And
well, we didn't mention Parasite doing a straight cleanup.
Oh, yes, we will say that as well. Parasite did a cleanup. It was awesome. If you were watching the Oscars, you were freaking out. If you weren't freaking out, you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
So... Listen, if we talk about a movie and break it down, it's going to win awards. What can I say? So one more voicemail for Jojo Rabbit, and this is from Jacob.
Show Me the Meaning Wisecrack crew. Jacob again calling in regards to your Jojo Rabbit podcast. Me and my friend, we saw this theater at a selective theater showing it, and we were very interested in it. And what my opinion of the movie is that I thought it was a coming-of-age story of a child in Germany in a very dark time in Germany's history. And it got me thinking about, like 1917 did, about what a war movie is and what it should be now. We're done with the combat, the fights, and we know what World War II is. It was all about the fights, us against an ideology. It's time for us to actually see how people were under that ideology. We know what it was like in some World War II movies under Soviet Russia. We need more of living under Nazi Germany. What was it like living especially in America around that time? I know, the Terror Season 2 was covering the Japanese internment camps, so we got...
Okay, so that's a good point. So we've talked about two war movies. We did 1917 and then Jojo Rabbit, neither of which really get at what people's lives were like during the thick of it. Jojo Rabbit sort of shows us a kind of calm scene towards the end of World War II. Things aren't going that well for the Germans, but things on the ground seem normal. And of course, did you see 1917?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know in 1917, I mean, we're really just seeing the lives of these two young men. So I think that's an interesting idea, Jacob, that some of these films haven't gotten into like life on the ground. And I think that idea too of like life in America during these times. So it's a good point. I do have to say one thing. Someone in the chat pointed out that we left out one of the most important things about Sonic.
Okay.
The Olive Garden.
Oh, yeah.
I just had to at least bring that up.
So I don't know if this is actually established somewhere. Maybe someone in the chat can tell us, like, is it actually paid advertisement?
It has to be. It has to be paid.
I mean, we've gone into situations where, remember our Bo Burnham video where we were talking about Taco, you specifically wrote that, and we were talking about Taco Bell, and everyone thought we were sponsored by Taco Bell, and we were like, no, we just think Taco Bell's funny. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
It is.
And Olive Garden does have that kind of unique cultural thing where it's kind of an ironic joke if you go to the Olive Garden because it's kind of an amazing deal and you enjoy it more than you want to admit.
That type of joke, though, the joke of like, haha, lowbrow cultural food thing is funny. When we do it in a Bo Burnham video at Wisecrack, that's gold. That's where you want to see that. That we might have even already hit the peak of that, and that could be over. I just need a little bit better in a movie that has a budget like that. For one of the pivotal, it's like a pivotal joke at the end. I don't know.
Wouldn't it be funny if literally the Olive Garden paid for all of the CGI corrections to make Sonic look more like the video game character?
But that was their deal. They were like, we'll correct all this, but at a pivotal scene at the end of the movie, a Olive Garden gift card for $50 has to be symbolically important.
If they did that, both of them got a good deal.
Wow. Final question of the day. When's the last time you've eaten at the Olive Garden?
2011.
Wow. You knew exactly. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm probably 2008 maybe.
And I enjoyed it. There's really no reason I haven't gone back.
Okay, so...
unlimited breadsticks, it's just not safe, man.
It's not, and I have a whole bread thing. I won't get into it now. Bread at restaurants is a scam. It fills you up so you don't get to eat the good stuff. You should never eat the bread they put out. Also, they reuse bread at restaurants.
It's literally just bread and pasta.
Yeah.
The unlimited thing is a joke unless you're Matt Stoney.
Not into it. So along with emailing and calling and letting us know what you thought about Sonic, let us know about any Olive Garden experiences you've had as well.
Please. I would love that.
I think we did it.
All right, we did it. We talked about Sonic the Hedgehog for almost an hour. I want to thank Michael for joining me on this. This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed the movie a little bit more after this discussion. We're going to be back, I believe, in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Maybe a week. I don't know. We'll
2
see.
weeks.
Anyway, guys, great to be back and great to be here with Michael, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Peace.